Oh, hello all, and welcome to the Triple H podcast, Happy Hour Hoop, your one-stop shop for enjoying a cold beverage and listening to our ice-cold basketball takes. Dunny and Jake, as always, and today we have our guy Stevie. Stevie, what's up? How you doing?
So I'm happy to talk basketball again. It's been a while. So been doing a lot of baseball content, but now really looking forward to these playing tournaments, really looking forward to the playoffs. And like, you know me, I'm a huge college basketball fan. And we're going to get a little bit of the college basketball feel with some of these elimination games.
That's right. Today we are talking about the NBA play-in tournament. We're going to go over potential matchups. They're almost locked in right now because we have just a few games left in the regular season. But as Stevie said, he talks about baseball. We talk about basketball. But before we get into basketball today, let's talk about your balls, folks, because we got Manscaped as our sponsor. Happy Hour Hoops Trainwreck Sports is brought to you by Manscaped. A message from our friends over there would be flowers are blooming, the grass is growing, and it's time to chop the weeds. Thanks to our sponsor, Manscaped, you can trim your holes safely and efficiently. And I am talking about ball trimmers, guys. So go over to manscaped.com, use the code word TRAINWRECK at checkout. You will receive 20% off and free shipping. Let's talk some NBA.
Safely and efficiently. Don't forget that. Safely and efficiently. Yeah, let's get into it. We'll start with our news and notes here, as always, before we get in to the play-in drama that's been going on the last couple weeks. So earlier this week, Kent Bazemore, normally nondescript guy. I would always just, you know what? Kent, dude, I just thought like normal ass, good dude. Seemed like he just put his head down, whatever. Came out and was talking about, you know, the scoring race right now. Bradley Beal and Steph Curry, very close, very, very close. Steph is probably going to clip him unless he has some really bad games coming up as Beal's not playing. And made a comment regarding Bradley Beal's injured hamstring. I love that he waited to like laugh for like people to react to. Like he didn't just like even say it offhand. Like he was like, aha, like gotcha guys. And then Bradley Beal went on a full like press tour, like he was dropping an album to go defend himself and his wife did in general. So Donnie, what was your initial thoughts seeing the whole the Bazemore and Beal back and forth earlier this week?
You know, I think, you know, large picture, looking at it from the outside in, it's kind of harmless. I thought it was a little Bazemore crossed a little bit of a line, you know, kind of coming at Beal for his hamstring injury. Obviously, it's, you know, it's fun and games. Beal and Curry are tight for the scoring title right now. But I do, you know, I think it's fine if Beal wants to react how he wants to react. I like that he went to Twitter. You know, he called Bazemore just about everything in the book, from a clown to a lame in all caps. You know, saying that Bazemore had it tight. But I do agree with you that, you know, the tour, as you put it, going on. Well, he went on like ESPN The Jump, or he went on some.
He went on First Take.
Yeah,
he went on some podcasts. I saw him with little Jethro Jenkins. Like he was all over the place.
Yeah, I'm fine with his personal replies, but I think it was made into a little too much than it needed to be. I mean, trash talk is a big part of this game. Usually it happens on the court, so I guess that's why Beal took a little disliking to this, that it happened in a presser. Yeah. A little bit of an overreaction, but I think for the most part it was fair. And I mean, the rest of this will breeze over. What did you think, Stevie?
Yeah, I mean, I think Bazemore's intention was just kind of like a friendly shot at him, but Beal's that type of guy. I feel like that he's an emotional type of player, and when you take a shot like an injury at someone who's kind of always been like an underdog his entire life, a guy people have glanced over, he's going to take that personally. And you saw the first half of the comments was basically Bazemore just kind of praising what Curry was doing. He's like, 49 points in 25 minutes, and then kind of takes a friendly shot at Beal, and I think that Beal kind of took that, not only like him, dissing his injury or whatnot, which is never, great to joke about injuries, but also kind of, subtly putting out there, hey, Curry's always going to be better than you, just kind of in the back of his head. And I think that's really what kind of led Beal to be a little more upset than, you'd normally be on something. But I don't think anything's really going to come of it. And Bazemore's not the type of guy who usually just drives under guys' skin. So I wasn't too worried about it.
And the chances are very low that we get a Wizards Warriors final, so it's not like we'll see these two settle it on the court.
Exactly.
Hey, I'll take the bet at least.
Yeah, right.
Shit, bro. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stevie, I think it was a great little thing. Like Beal, he's kind of is like that emotional guy. He's kind of like, it was kind of like, he's like, why are you doing this? Like, what was the purpose of this? Like, we've all been there, like hearing random shit from people be like, why? Like, what is it like? And it's just so funny to me that he was like everywhere. Like Brad Beal, I've not seen Brad Beal on a single like podcast, like TV interview anywhere all year long. The day after, he was like full out press run, like just yeah, he was just really but like why would he be worried about like what Steph Curry's doing? Like he's clearly just out, like you said, he's out there to ball, whatever. Yeah, I think hopefully this just blows over, but just Kent Bazemore, like just stay in your lane, bro. Like just don't go shouting out. Like I know him and Steph are like boys too, so I think that was part of it, but yeah, let's relax on that. All right, keep it rolling here. James Harden came back last night. Played in limited minutes for the Nets, but played well, looked like his normal self. And honestly, they didn't have Kyrie Irving last night, but Donnie, the Nets, they just look like a different team when James Harden's out there. Do you think that the James Harden, like, is this the James Harden like redemption tour? Like, is he the best player on this Nets team, and is he really like the engine that it makes them go? Because he kind of looked like they just looked different last night, especially offensively.
Yeah, we've talked about it earlier in the season, and I think we kind of hit it. And I think what we said before is still kind of true in that Harden's the most important. But as long as KD is on the court with him and healthy, I think that you can't say that KD is not the best, at least in my opinion. I think KD is the best. Harden's most important. And, I mean, it's kind of showed. There's a few games there was just Kyrie and Durant. That 2-game series against the Bucks, and then they dropped another one for 3 straight. They might even got up to 4 straight losses at one point without Harden, and then Harden returns last night, and you can kind of see that their offense just clicks just a little better when he's on the court. I mean, the passes he's able to make, and then even if his teammates are getting locked up, then he can make the most difficult shots, with the best in the league. So yeah, I think Harden just adds a different spark to this offense and just the pace of the game in general, and it showed last night.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you, Donnie. I think Durant might be the most talented player in the Nets, but Harden is the alpha of that team. And when he plays, you can just kind of see the difference. Harden, he is the point guard. Kyrie said it earlier in the year. He goes, I am technically a point guard, but when Harden plays, he's the point guard. He's the guy the offense runs through. He's the guy who takes the ball up. And I'm just excited to see all three come playoffs play together because I think they're gonna be really special. I think the Nets are gonna be as good as advertised once we see them in the playoffs. But that's the craziest part about the Nets is Harden is the main guy for the team. He's the guy the offense runs through. But when Kevin Durant is your second option on that team, that's scary. And I think Durant's probably the best scorer in the NBA.
Yeah.
To have, Harden being able to just facilitate to him all game long, that's going to be scary come playoffs.
As you just said that, it just like hit me that's like true. Like it's Kevin Durant's second option. That's just terrifying. I don't even need to know who. Like the three of us could be in the lineup, and I'd still be I would still be terrified for the team we're playing against. Like that's crazy. Yeah, I'm very interested to watch the Nets once they're fully healthy and going in a playoff scenario, because of the Mike D'Antoni impact, and like obviously Steve Nash is the head coach, but we've seen, like I've talked about it a couple of times on here, we've seen the impact that D'Antoni's offense has had and just the way that they're kind of set up to go. And in the playoffs, it hasn't really worked out. And obviously this is the most talent a team like that has had before. So I'm ready to see them, and I'm ready to see them in a game, in a series against ideally the Knicks, but a series against like the Bucks and Sixers, and kind of see like what these great defensive teams can do against them. All right, last news and note before we get into the West playoff games. Stevie, I'm giving you your chance, the floor here. Your boy Russell Westbrook passing Oscar Robertson for most triple doubles all time. I should have worn my brother's a UCLA Russ jersey. I should have been prepared for this. I went solidarity with you today, Dunny, instead. So yeah, this is your floor, Stevie. I want you to give Russ his flowers right now.
Yeah, I mean, I got the Thunder Russ jersey in my closet right now, but Russell Westbrook, he's the most underappreciated athlete, I think, right now in all sports and in the NBA too. He never gets enough credit, and he's always been the fall guy, whether it was on the Thunder with Durant or the Rockets with Harden. They just want to blame Westbrook for no reason, and it just drives me nuts because all before everyone was crazy about all this guy's putting up these type of numbers, and then when Westbrook puts up 30 points, 20 rebounds, and 15 assists, they're like, he shot 40% from the field. And it drives me nuts because Russell Westbrook, I don't think there's anyone in the NBA who plays harder than he does. He shouldn't be averaging around 12 rebounds a game with his size, but his athleticism and just his desire to get rebounds is one thing. And it's been contagious with the Wizards. You've just seen how they've played with Westbrook, going nuclear, how he has the past 2 months. I mean, he's 10 triple doubles in his last 11 games. He's averaging 22 points and basically 12 assists, 12 rebounds this year. He needs to start getting the credit, the recognition. No one's even going to consider him as an MVP candidate, but the Wizards wouldn't be anywhere close to where they are now if they had John Wall instead of Westbrook. And I'll be the first to say that. Like, I think Russell Westbrook's an incredible player, and he, a lot of people give him shit for, he struggled in the playoffs in the past, or he doesn't shoot the ball too efficiently. But he's a guy I would absolutely want on my team. He's a guy I always root for, and he's a player I think is easy to root for. Once you watch him, you learn to love the man and everything he can do for an organization.
That's true. Russ has been scapegoated for a lot of reasons, but I feel like a lot of it is just because he doesn't really like talking to the media at all, and so the media is like throwing out all these shots at Russ all the time, and they're not gonna do him any favors ever. That's for damn sure. But yeah, like the play has just been incredible, and it's a problem. It's a problem with people that watch basketball now in general. It's like if they haven't won like 3 titles, they're just all trash.
I know.
I'm surprised people can even talk about Bradley Beal without like ripping him apart yet. Like it comes for everybody. It's like a life cycle of takes that come out about these guys. So yeah, like Russ he's incredible. He's an incredible talent. It might not equal ever an NBA title, but it doesn't take away from how good he is on the court.
And that's the thing too with Russ. He's been one of the clutchest shooters all year long this season. No one's going to talk about that though, because there's just a narrative against him that he's not a clutch player. He's not a big time player. He's not a good teammate. And I hate that. I wish we could just put it to end because the numbers speak for themselves. And when you watch him too, it's just he makes your jaw drop.
Yeah, as his teammate Bradley Beal said, he put it best. Russ is one of the best basketball players to ever pick up a basketball. He said that after he broke the record, and it's just true. I mean, people like Stevie, you said, they kind of just get lost in being able to appreciate Westbrook, and I think where it is most of the casual NBA fans' fault, it's almost to the point where he's so good that he kind of does it to himself a little bit because what you said, 10 triple doubles in 11 games, like
it's ridiculous.
People just expect it now. Like he has made triple doubles look so easy that they seem casual, but it's not at all. And he's the only one doing it at this rate. And it gets overlooked that during some of those huge triple doubles where he had like 30 points, 19 rebounds, and 15 assists, like he was getting the Wizards important wins so they can remain in this play-in slot. Like he grabbed them. Not only did he break the record last week, he sealed the Wizards 2 overtime victories that kept them in this 10 seed, giving them a fighting chance in the playoffs. I mean, and I didn't even think about what you said about John Wall. Like that swap at the beginning of the year, people were saying, I mean, that looks about even, but obviously the Wizards won the trade. It's not even close now. I was even on the fence, like, Westbrook's obviously a better player right now, but how much better is he going to make this team? It's crazy that they're a 10 seed, but they are better than if John Wall was there, and I think that's pretty easy to see.
definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And it's even the last couple of games like that they've lost, it was 1 point losses. 1 point loss to Milwaukee, and what was it, 4 points last night to Atlanta, and they were up the whole game without Beal. Yeah. So it's they're a terrifying team. And you know what? We'll get into them in a little bit, just about the potential in the play-in, but they're a different team than they were at the beginning of the year when we were basically all counting them out, and especially counting Russ out. And he clearly wasn't healthy at the beginning of the year. All right, well, let's get into it. Play-in time. The first time this has ever happened. We're starting Tuesday night. I cannot wait. I've just realized I was just sitting there the other night. Me and my brother were sitting in our apartment bullshitting whatever. And I was like, oh shit, like next week we get playoff basketball and playoff hockey that we could get like late. We're gonna have late night game. Well, there's not a lot of late night hockey games this year, unfortunately, but we get late night playoff basketball like going forward for the next couple months. It's so weird because it's May. Like usually we would be in the middle of this. Like this would probably be like conference finals time almost, right? Like that would be pretty close to the normal year. And we haven't had that in 2 years. We had the playoffs in fucking September. We had the finals in August and September, and now we're starting them up in May. So it's just I'm not used to it yet. But once I see the playoff games, especially on the home courts and not the bubble, as much as I enjoyed the bubble, like it's gonna be so nice and some fans.
Yeah. This is also a gambler's dream too. We got the NBA playoffs starting, the NHL playoffs, baseball's in full swing. It's gonna be a fun couple months. I can't wait for it.
I've lost money like the last 3 weeks on ridiculous parlays, and it's only gonna get worse. It's just only gonna get worse with playoff time coming forward. All right, the West play-in right now. So let's take a look at the Western Conference standings. As of right now, the Los Angeles Lakers are the 7th seed, and they will play against the Golden State Warriors in the 7-8 game. We will get to that game because I think that's the matchup. I mean, honestly, I'm stealing this from Chris Ryan of The Ringer. He said this earlier. Is it possible that the Lakers-Warriors play-in game would get better ratings than the Game 7 of the NBA Finals this year, depending on matchups? Because like if we had like a Suns-Sixers Finals, like it might be like Lakers-Warriors, that shit might just be like everybody's going to want to tune into that. That's the perfect thing.
I think it could get more ratings than a finals game, but I don't know about a Game 7.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, but I definitely think this Warriors-Lakers game will be an extremely televised matchup.
Oh my God.
Without question.
Crazy.
It's going to be appointment television, and it's I was saying this earlier, like normally, we see these, it's a best of 7 series. Well, that's not the case with these play-in games. And you've got two of the best, if LeBron does play, which I would be shocked if he doesn't, you'd have two of the best players in the world matching up against one another of a win, or guess what? You got one chance or you're eliminated. And I can't wait to see what that's going to turn into.
So let's get into it a little bit here because we could have some jockeying in the standings.
Yeah.
So the Trailblazers and Mavs are both currently a game ahead of the Lakers. They both have the tiebreaker over the Lakers. So that's where it really comes in. That's why Monday or Friday night, that loss for the Lakers in Portland was kind of a death knell to their 6th seed almost. We see right now the 2 games left for the Blazers. Phoenix tonight on TNT, and then they host Denver Sunday night. Those are 2 pretty tough games. Now Sunday night, Denver might not. I mean, that could be nobody. That could be the bare bones Denver lineup. Mm-hmm. So it seems like Portland should escape with a win there in one of those games at least. And then Dallas going forward, they will be playing. I think they have 2 games left as well. They play the Raptors tomorrow night, and then at Minnesota. Those also should be able to get one of those games. So I think they're
I think Dallas can win those both pretty easily, but we'll see.
So if Dallas wins both and then Portland drops one, then we will have Dallas into the 5 seed and then Portland into the 6. That's how. But they're pretty. We both all agree they're pretty safe to escape the play-in then from the Lakers.
I would say Dallas more than Portland, just in case if the Nuggets have something to play for.
Yeah,
it's a much tougher schedule for Portland than it is for Dallas.
Yeah, yeah, I could see Portland falling. I can't really see Dallas in that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
then who the Lakers play tonight?
the Lakers play Saturday and Sunday. They play the Pelicans and the Pacers.
Yeah.
So and they would obviously have to win both those games.
Yeah, which they could even if LeBron's not back, they could probably win both those games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they played good. And Denver is still a game back of the Clippers for the 3 seed. They might still want to play for something, and especially all these top seeds are going to get 5 days off because of the play-in, anyways. But let's go. So let's go off the assumption we got the Lakers pretty much locked into the 7th seed. Then that's pretty much locked and loaded at this point. With the Warriors and Grizzlies, though, the Grizzlies only a half game back of the Warriors right now. The Warriors currently in the 8th spot. They have tomorrow night they host New Orleans, and then they actually host Memphis Sunday afternoon.
Wow.
Memphis, I'm assuming, has 3 games left here. I believe that Memphis has 3 games remaining still. They place the Kings tonight, and then the Warriors Sunday, obviously, and Kings back to back the next 2 nights, and then at Golden State. So that could be Sunday. It could be for the 8 seed Sunday, and to the wonderful honor to play the Lakers in the first round there in that play-in.
Yeah, do the Grizzlies want to do that? Well, I guess you would, because then you have a shot. Yeah, you have a shot.
Have to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the Kings. I don't think there'll be a pushover in back-to-backs, right? If they win out and the Spurs lose out, they can hop into the 10. Is that how that works?
Yeah, the Kings are still. Yeah, they're clinging to life, but
technically alive.
They're still
Right?
alive. Yeah.
2 full games back from the 10 seed. The Kings are.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're winner go home games for the Kings the next 2 games.
If they win the first one against the Grizzlies, I mean they're gonna play hard both games, but
and this is, I mean, when players were speaking out about the play-in tournament, De'Aaron Fox was one of the few who was quick to say that he really liked it. So even if the Kings are still looking like they're going to miss this tournament, De'Aaron Fox is going to be motivated, and he's going to want to at least spice it up if he can't be in it. So you can expect 2 very hard-fought games from the Kings on those back-to-backs.
For sure. And the Spurs, the Spurs got 3 games left right now, but it's at New York and then Phoenix back-to-back Saturday, Sunday. And Phoenix obviously still playing to try to get that 1 seed and avoid the Lakers and the potential first-round matchup. So I wasn't gonna watch the Kings and Memphis tonight, but I might have to turn that on because that's the Spurs and the Spurs and Knicks, because those are kind of like, we could still see some chaos go on in the back end there that I wasn't realizing before we looked over this. But right now, let's talk about the Lakers Warriors. Yeah, because that's the game. I mean, shit, like Donnie, what a fucking game this would be, man. Like, how we were hoping, when LeBron probably went to the Lakers, we were probably hoping that this would be like a Western Conference Finals. But how do you feel about a 1 game, not technically win or go home, but 1 game play-in matchup between Steph and LeBron? Like, that's just gonna be crazy.
Oh, there's going to be so much drama, like just so much drama. We might see some more mouthpieces being thrown. I'm hoping for all of it. And I think, obviously the talk of the town's all about Steph and LeBron, but I think you can expect some old Draymond Green antics in this one, having to go up against the trees and Drummond and Davis down below. Like, we've seen Drummond get into it a few times with opponents this season, and I just feel like these play-in tournaments are kind of built for just beef right after the first whistle and until the game's finished. So, I mean, Stevie kind of touched on it. Do you guys think there's even a chance that LeBron doesn't play here? Do the Lakers have the balls to do that? I think obviously if it's in LeBron's hands, he's going to play, but I don't think Frank Vogel, has the nerve to do that and sit LeBron down in this situation.
I also think if LeBron wants to play, he'll tell Frank Vogel, "Hey, I'm going to play tonight." He's got that type of pull. But I'm excited just to watch the game because, like you kind of mentioned, Donnie, it's not a true elimination game, but it's technically just a 1-game series between the Warriors and the Lakers. And winner, you're in, you're safe. The loser, you got to make sure you win the next night. And it could be a game where it really comes down to, is Curry going to go, crazy from three? Is he going to shoot, 65, 70%? Or is he going to be cold and the Lakers just run away with this because, they have the size and the advantage on the inside? And that's really what I'm looking for.
Well, that's the thing about seeing the potential of the Lakers are a much better team. It's not even a question. We know this Lakers team would be the best team in the league without all the injuries this year.
Right.
But the potential of Steph because he knows what he's gonna have to do to compete with those guys. He's probably gonna put up 25 to 30 shots easy in this game, unless it's really out of the flow and they're doubling up on him and whatever. He's gonna be high volume in this game, and if he's hitting, we've seen what can happen if Steph's hitting like that. And that's just and if anybody knows, it's LeBron James too. So shit, man, I think it's easy for the Lakers. I really think that I think that they're just so much better no matter what, but with the Steph Curry factor going into it, you can't count the Warriors out no matter what. Now, assuming the Warriors lose this game, as we both all think the Lakers will move on and get that 7 seed, how do we think the Warriors match up against the likes of the Grizzlies, the Spurs, and the Kings? Obviously, they have the best player on the floor in all those games, but do you think which one of those teams, Donnie, do you think has the best chance of beating the Warriors and kind of stealing the 8 seed from Steph and them?
Grizzlies. Mm-hmm. Strictly because, no disrespect to the Kings, I think any of these teams would kind of eliminate them quickly if they find their way into this tournament. Spurs, I mean, no disrespect to Pop, I think he'd put up a fight against Kerr just along the lines of technique in general. But this Grizzlies group, Ja self-proclaimed himself as a top 5 point guard in the league last week. I think I could name 5 that are probably better than him. I love his and that's just who he is. He was kind of in this situation last year in the bubble, and you saw how well he did. And he just improves every game that he plays. They kind of have that toughness that the Memphis Grizzlies used to have back in the Zach Randolph and Marc Gasol and Mike Conley days, Tony Allen. They have, not a replica of that team by any means, but same kind of attitude and just young studs who are willing to go out there and grind every night. They got a big guy in Valanciunas in the middle, and the Warriors kind of lack in size. So I think it would be, I don't think they would beat the Warriors easily, but if anyone was going to give them a tough go, I think it would be them.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think the Grizzlies would be the toughest out for the Warriors. But I also, too, if I'm the Grizzlies, I'd be terrified of playing the Spurs in that 9-10 matchup because you're going against one of the greatest coaches of all time in a 1-game winner-go-home situation. And although the Spurs don't have the most talented roster in the league, they have one of the best head coaches. And sometimes coaching, helps win the games. And one game with like you said, a younger, less experienced Grizzlies team going up against Popovich, that's where I almost lean the Spurs to. I guess it would be an upset over them. And then I kind of like the Warriors if they were to match up against the Spurs. I like that a lot better for the Warriors than the Grizzlies. But if the Grizzlies can't get by the Spurs, they would absolutely give the Warriors a game. That'd be a fun game to watch too. Ja versus Curry.
Yeah, it would. It's just 2 completely different style of point guards, but both just excel at the same positions. Wild. Yep.
I feel so bad for the Grizzlies that have to be, the 2 play-in situations that have ever happened in NBA history, and they're going to be involved in all of it.
Yeah.
At least, it's still playoff. I count it as playoff experience for Ja, I think. And it'll be interesting to see. I mean, and as we talked about earlier, maybe they just avoid that. They could avoid that first game altogether and get the shot at the Lakers too. And we'll see what happens there as it plays out over the next couple of days. All right, so let's move over to the East. Dunny, your Boston Celtics pretty much locked into the 7 seed at this point.
Yeah, they could drop to 8.
They could still drop to 8. Are they going to drop to 8? You think they're really?
I'm just saying it's in the cards. I have to get these things out of the way now, just to make me feel better about it.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I've never been more unhappy with a Cleveland Cavaliers win than last night. But just because I knew like of the repercussions for you and all our friends, and also because I don't want the Cavs to be winning basketball games right now.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
They lost 11 straight, so obviously the Celtics lost to them.
So the Boston Celtics, they finish up at Minnesota Saturday, which I would say is usually good, but I'm pretty sure it went to double overtime last time with the Timberwolves, right?
Yeah.
And
53, I think.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And a very in fuego Anthony Edwards as well in Minnesota.
Yes.
Yeah. And then at the New York Knicks. Who are, I don't really like, this is a weird thing for me too with like the Knicks, that Knicks Hawks Heat race. Do any of those teams really care where they end up between the 4, 5, and 6? Like, I guess you don't want to be the 6th seed. You don't want to have to play Milwaukee or Brooklyn in the first round.
Yeah, I would say they're fighting to stay away from the 6th, if I had to guess. I think, and what I'm hearing is that the Celtics might be sitting their key players, is the quote that I saw, for these next 2 games.
Really?
But if that happens, I kind of don't want that to happen purely for the Knicks game, because if New York plays all their guys and Boston plays their key players that they have left, obviously we know Jaylen Brown out for season with a wrist. He had wrist surgery on a torn ligament. But that could be a real, and obviously I'm speaking, this is just wishful thinking here. But if the Celtics could show a good outing against the Knicks and they really they get a big win over the Knicks and then head into the play-in game, I think that could be huge momentum. Obviously, it changes nothing for the standings. Knicks are locked in. Celtics are going to be in the play-in game. But they could at least build off that, because the New York Knicks have kind of been the better obviously, but the better team in the East this year. So, I don't know. The Minnesota game doesn't have much meaning to me right now. I think I would like to see a win against the Knicks, but like I said, we might not even see the Celtics guys out there for these next 2. Get healthy and then as healthy as you can and go into these play-in games.
Well, they can't drop because can they drop to the 9? Like, I guess the Pacers would have to win the next couple games.
No, the Pacers.
It would be,
or do they have the tiebreaker?
It would have to be a perfect storm. I'd like to think that that's not going to happen, but now that I'm looking, they're a game and a half above both the Pacers and the Hornets. So I guess, I think they do have the tiebreaker over Indiana, but they do not against Charlotte, I don't think.
Mm-mm. That was why that one game was so huge a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
But I mean, the thing is, if you end up that's why I was wondering, because if you end up the 8 seed, it doesn't really matter if you're the 7 or the 8. You still got to beat the 8 seed no matter what. But dropping to the 9, then you got to play the Washington Wizards.
You have to play Washington, and then it's win or go home.
That's worst case scenario.
This was just a whole new eye-opening experience.
Your life flashed before your eyes.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just so it's looking most likely that it's going to be Boston, Charlotte.
Yeah.
7-8. Regardless, it could be flip-flop. Yeah. It could be Charlotte 7, Boston 8. What do you guys see in this matchup? I mean, I could go on about the Celtics for hours here, but what do you guys have in this matchup here?
I mean, I'll be pulling for LaMelo Ball. No disrespect on it, just because I like this Hornets team. I love watching LaMelo. He's really changed my opinion on him from the start of this year to now. I didn't really think he was that great. Started watching him this year, and I go, this is some guy I'd want to build my franchise around. But it's tough for me to count the Celtics out come playoffs when it matters, even without Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum, another guy too, and I'm sure you'll touch on this, Dunny. He's also a guy people overlook how good he actually is. Tatum should be up there with the names of these other superstars, and they just don't give him enough credit. And Tatum has really took his game to another level in this past, month and a half, and I expect him to kind of carry that through in the playoffs. And I'm just gonna kind of lean on the Celtics to beat the Hornets. I just think the Hornets, they were a fun team this year. I don't know if they're ready yet to win these big games when it matters.
Jake, what about you?
I've been going back and forth for like the last 2 minutes even. Like, I really don't know what to expect from – that's the thing. We've been talking about this with the Boston Celtics all year, is that they're perfectly consistent and that we don't know what we're going to see from a night-to-night basis.
Right.
I just think the Hornets are a bad matchup for them too.
Yeah.
It's just because they don't really have an answer for LaMelo and what he can do. Like, Smart is a great on-ball defender, but LaMelo, if you're guarding him, up close and personal and blocking him down, he's just going to find other people. And then it really comes down to the rest of the Celtics defense. And the Celtics defense has just not been – it's just been bad. Like, it just hasn't been what we are used to from year to year. And that's because they never really addressed getting a big to help this offense. I'm sorry. I tried to hype up Tristan Thompson for you earlier in the year, Dunny. It's gone. It's done for. It's just – he doesn't have that offering anymore. So I think it's gonna turn into a shootout, which better for the fans watching, better for the over, but I just don't know if that's better for the Celtics. Do you feel confident in a Jason Tatum versus LaMelo Ball shootout?
If it's purely shootout and those are really only guys scoring, then yeah, I'm going Tatum over Ball there, but I'm worried about the Hornets team as a whole, just because a few Sundays ago earlier, it might have been the end of April. It was a 1:00 game, and the Hornets in Charlotte, and the Hornets just absolutely gave it to Boston. I mean, the Martin twins were hitting threes. Rozier was knocking it down from outside all game long. This was when LaMelo and Hayward were both out. Guys just stepping up. Miles Bridges and PJ Washington both had, I think, 25-plus point games. This is just, and it really is, I hate to say it, but it's kind of a nightmare matchup for the Celtics, and specifically the way they've been playing lately. They haven't been, been able to react to fast-paced teams, and that's what the Hornets do. I mean, they run the break and they shoot the three, and they do it all so fast. Early shots on the shot clock, they don't care. And Boston's been, one, lax on defense, and two, turning the ball over a ton. And that'll be a killer in itself if they do that against this Hornets team. And then you also just got to worry about the double revenge game here. We have Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier on the other side. And both those guys, went healthy for Hayward's instance, but both those guys, they did everything for the Celtics organization, come playoff time when Terry Rozier hit some of the biggest shots of his career in playoff series in Boston. I mean, you talk about that crossover on Eric Bledsoe and all that stuff in that Milwaukee series, and now he has a chance to get back and, really stick it to the Celtics here when they're underarmed. So it's going to be a tough one for the C's, if you ask me.
Is Hayward? Do you think Hayward's going to play?
I don't know. It's weird. I would be shocked if they're on the fence about his injury, if they rush him back, just because, like I mentioned, they have guys like Bridges and Washington to kind of fill in. I think if they're on the fence and they lose game one and don't play him, I think maybe then they throw him in game two and try to keep their hopes alive. But I don't know if they'll throw him in game one here against Boston.
Yeah. That's a weird thing because, like, with his injury history, obviously, every team would want to be more cautious. But with him in the lineup for that Hornets team, I mean, when he was fully healthy and LaMelo was fully healthy early in the year, like, they weren't even thinking play-in. They were thinking, like, 5 seed, 4 seed. Like, that's the area they were living in. So it's like, do we want to just maximize it and send it or see what happens? But regardless of, this matchup with one of these teams, Boston or Charlotte, is going to have to play. Now, can we just all agree that there's no way the Pacers beat the Wizards, right?
There's too many injuries for the Pacers right now. Turner's, out for the year. Brogdon and LeVert, we don't even know if he'll be back in time. It's just, I love Sabonis. He's one of my, favorite players to watch, but he's not going to beat the Wizards by himself.
Another triple-double machine, Domantas Sabonis.
Exactly.
He's just been fucking killing it. It's been crazy. All right, so we're going under the assumption here that the Wizards are going to move on. So, honestly, right now, if you had to choose between the Wizards, the Hornets, and the Celtics, I just feel like I would have to go with the Wizards in any of those matchups, and that's why that 7-8 game becomes so important, because in the playoffs, we've talked about it. Milwaukee is a team I think I've harped on this the most about, and that you really just need guys that can go get their own shots in a playoff game in a tough scenario. Now, having said that, Russell Westbrook has had trouble in those scenarios sometimes in the playoff section, because playoff basketball is just different. It just is. But we have never really seen, and now we don't know how healthy Bradley Beal is going to be in a week either in that playing game. But we've never really seen Bradley Beal be the focal point of a team in this kind of high pressure situation. I, for one, don't think he's going to absolutely he's built for this kind of moment and is going to show out. But with an injured Bradley Beal, do you think that they will be able to get by and get through to actually, earn a playoff berth?
Like you guys said, I think even if it's just Westbrook against Indiana, then they can get it done. But then if you're talking a second game and they have to go up against a Hornets or a Celtics team, I don't know. I think even with Jaylen Brown down, and then I don't know if Robert Williams is going to be ready to go for this play-in tournament. I think even so, that Celtics team still matches up pretty good against this Wizards team, because it kind of just is Westbrook alone at that point. Jake, me and you have touched on earlier in the year that, people need to stop hating on Beal and Westbrook a little bit, because it's really not their fault. You take one or both those guys out of the roster, and that is a piss poor roster. No disrespect to any of those guys. Obviously all pros, but just comparing it to the rest of the league, they just don't have the talent that everyone else does. So Westbrook alone against a Charlotte or a Boston, I don't really see that happening. I don't want to count out the guy because he's Mr. Why Not, Mr. Triple Double. He kind of does do it on his own. He'll put up a fight, no doubt. I don't know if I could see it happening, especially if the Celtics lose and then the backs are really against the wall in that situation. Even if they have Beal, I kind of like, Tatum going up against one of his best friends. I think that's when you'll see one of those huge games from Tatum that he likes to show us every once in a while. But yeah, as far as Westbrook by himself, I don't know. That'd be tough. Indiana, sure. Next game, I don't know if I can say it's a sure thing.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. I think they need Beal in that second game if they want to advance. You got guys like Bertans and Rui. They're good players. They're fine. Yep. But that's not going to help you win a playoff game. And Russell, he's playing probably the best basketball of his career in this stretch he's had. But you got to think, if you get to the playoffs and there's no Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook, he might even try to do too much. And that's kind of what I'm a little bit worried about with the Wizards. I think you really need Beal there to, help him out, because I want to see Beal be the guy who takes 20 to 25 shots. I don't want to see Westbrook have to do that. I want to see him play the role he knows how to play. And if you come up against the Celtics or even the Hornets and you don't have Beal, I just feel like there's going to be almost too much pressure on Russell Westbrook. And as much as I love him, as much as I think he's a great player, to your point, Dunny, the guys around him, you take Westbrook and Beal off that team, that's a bottom 3 or 4 team in the NBA. Without question. Sure.
And you talk about Westbrook getting pressured. What if it is a Boston-Washington game and he has to deal with Marcus all game long?
Exactly.
And then it's just him. He has to make the the late night shots, which he doesn't shoot outside with great volume. We know that. That's probably the biggest fault to his game. And then he's going to have to be doing that with Smart nagging him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's no easy task. And then obviously Charlotte has, a bunch of athletic wings and just speedsters that can keep up with him and at least bother him a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it would definitely be a tough task, but Westbrook's going to come to play regardless.
Definitely.
Oh, for sure. So quick before we wrap up here, obviously the Lakers we think has a chance to do some damage in the playoffs, right? And I mean that. But Dunny, what is your team out of these teams, and even another, maybe a couple teams here that you think, looking at the matchups in the East and the West, obviously the West team is either going to face the Suns or the Jazz. And then in the East, a little bit tougher with Philly and Brooklyn in those top 2 seeds. But what team do you think can make some noise besides the Lakers? Because I think we all know that they're probably going to be favorites against the Suns when they win that series.
Yeah, that is crazy to think about, from play-in to the favorite. I don't know. That's tough. I think obviously the Warriors too, if they can. Depending on matchup, if they can escape the play-in tournament as well, because they would that be a Utah Golden State series if that were to happen?
I believe so, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think I mean, we've kind of again, I don't mean to discredit Utah in any which way. But we've talked about it, they're kind of been this boring, excellent team all year. They're winning, but no one truly believes if they can keep doing this in the playoffs. And then what better team to put them to the test than a Steph Curry-led Golden State Warriors team who's, a few of them, those guys at least, obviously the team's very different, but they have Draymond and Steph still with all this playoff experience. So, I think they could make somewhat of a run. And then in the East, it's tough. I mean, that's slim pickings. The Celtics, this has kind of been a reality for me a couple weeks now. I was thinking with Brown, we could make some noise at least, but if it's looking like it's going to be Brooklyn that we're playing if we do get out of the play-in game, and I just that's Danny Ainge's karma, right? That's his karma for whatever the past sins of the last couple of years is that he has to face Brooklyn and Kyrie Irving. Circle. That's unreal. That's past the full circle. That's going like 720 right there, and Ainge just got punched in the face at the end of it. But I don't know if I can even say that any of these teams in the East. Honestly, I'd probably say the Wizards have the best chance of escaping a series after the play-in game just because of the star power. I was going to say that about the Celtics with Brown and Tatum. Right. I mean, if we get like a Brooklyn I want a Brooklyn-Washington series so bad just for Russ and KD.
And Harden.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that too. Oh my God, yeah, we need that.
Yeah, bro.
Forget Golden State and Los Angeles in the play-in game. Those TV ratings, let's get a first round Washington, Brooklyn.
Yeah,
and get those ratings through the roof because that's what I want to see.
Westbrook would break records in that series. Yeah. I don't know if the Wizards would win that series, but he would shatter.
Yeah, we're talking like 70-point games here.
Yeah.
The amount of aggression we'd see from Russell Westbrook in that series, crazy, unreal. All right, Stevie, what's one of your teams that you're looking out for here?
I think Dunny kind of touched on the ones that I think we're all. If the Lakers are healthy, they're probably one of the most dangerous teams in the entire playoffs. So they're kind of the exception to the rule. And I also won't count out the Warriors with Curry. If Curry gets hot, he can just carry a team by himself. Mm-hmm. Well, one team that they could fall into the play-in, right now they're not, but the Dallas Mavericks. Luka's a big-time player for me, and if he gets a chance, even if they're not in the playoff game, if he gets a chance to match up against the Clippers after last year, kind of how the Clippers beat them, a revenge narrative, Luka's a big-time player. We've seen glimpses of Luka magic all year long. the Mavericks are a team I don't want to face if they fall into the playing game, or even in the first round if they face a team, like I said, like the Clippers. But really, I think it's the same three teams we're on. I know Dunny's on the Celtics too, but it's the Warriors, the Lakers, and the Wizards too for me. The Wizards may play the most exciting basketball if Beal's healthy, but I don't know if the Wizards would have enough to take out one of those top teams in the East.
That's true. I think the Charlotte-Philly series would be pretty damn fun too. Yeah. I think Charlotte matches up really well, except Embiid's going to obviously dominate.
Yeah.
This thought just popped into my head, but could LeBron be super content with being in this play-in tournament and maybe even a little bit on purpose that he ends up here? Because last year after the championship, he said the bubble championship was the most accomplished championship ever won in all sports or something along those lines. He said it was the most difficult. What if he's just kind of doubling down on that playing game to champion this year? Like if he's like, all right, last year we won the bubble season, this year we were against all odds in the play-in, and
he wants that
number 1 or number 2 seed, and now we're back in the final.
And if it's a year to do it, it's a year when the Jazz and the Suns are the top 2 seeds.
That's true.
If the Lakers get either the 7 or the 8, they're probably going to be the betting favorites in the series against either of those teams. So it's kind of the perfect storm for LeBron if he wants to play, the underdog role from the play-in tournament to, the championship.
LeBron is playing chess. The rest of the league is playing checkers.
He can say that he's the first NBA champion to win 17 games. He can just load it up. They can even lose a round, and he'll be like, "Oh no, I played 18. We had to go through the struggle."
Yeah.
Oh my god, bro, for real. It's. Honestly, I would not put it past his Illuminati, brain breaking ass to do that.
Just king shit right there.
It is. It's facts.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So quickly before we go here, I'm gonna keep doing this every week now. Dunny, what is right now on May 13th at 7:14 Eastern time your NBA Finals matchup?
Oh, geez, man. Give me Brooklyn and the Los Angeles Clippers.
Okay. Stevie, what is as of 7:14, May 13th, what is your finals matchup?
East, I'm going with the Brooklyn Nets. I've been going with them all year long. And I think we're going to get a Kevin Durant versus LeBron James matchup in the finals again. Nets, Lakers. Lakers get healthy. And the Nets, I think, cruise kind of through the East. And we could see a 6-7 game epic finals between the Lakers and the Nets.
Honestly, we deserve that. The world deserves that. Yeah, the world deserves that after last year. Right now, my complete gut, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, I'm going to go Clippers and Bucks. That's what I'm going with. The Bucks are the team I feel more sure about too, and that's mostly I just really like the Milwaukee-Brooklyn matchup. I think that they might be able to figure it out. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe we'll see. It's going to change again. But
I was on the Clippers big last year, and I don't know. I just can't talk myself into them this year. I need you guys to convince me.
Well, that's the problem. The problem with the Clippers is that I was the same way. I was really worried. I had a bunch of Lakers futures and everything, but I was sure that they were going to lose to the Clippers. And now this year, my opinions about the Clippers, their team, I feel like I still feel just as good about the team overall as I did last year. But I just don't know, when they get in that situation, what's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah, I think I was on the Clippers last year just because I thought they had the roster built for it, and now I think they have an even better roster, and it seemed that their chemistry improved this year. They brought in my guy Rondo. He knows how to win championships. That's just kind of where I'm going. And then obviously Lakers could say that too. I think they'll be right there. I think that'll be the Western Conference Finals.
I feel bad we're counting out all these teams in the West, the Nuggets, the Suns, the Jazz, that have all had great seasons. We're like, it's the LA teams.
Yeah. It's that prove it time of year. And that's what everyone wants to see. We want to see it from the vets and CP3, and we want to see it from kind of the newcomers to the playoff fame and Donovan Mitchell and Gobert. So
I will say if the Nuggets had Jamal Murray, it'd be a completely different story for me on that team. But
yeah,
that was a tough loss.
I think my the problem. So I originally was thinking Philly, and I still think. Truly, I think that's who I'll end up deciding before the finals is Philly out of the East. I think it's a Joel Embiid year. Maybe, I don't know. The thing that worries you, the Suns. I think I like the Suns a lot more than the Jazz in that situation to make a run. I don't trust the Jazz at all. But the Suns having to play the Lakers in the first round, basically no matter what at this point, it just kind of fucks them because it's just a terrible matchup. Like DeAndre Ayton is not going to be able to handle Anthony Davis in a whole playoff series. And they just don't have another answer. Especially at least with the Jazz, they'd have Gobert to throw at him. But
yeah, I was just going to say, especially the way Davis has kind of turned it on the last 3-4 games. He's had some game-winning moments at the end of time. He had a 46-point performance just a week ago. Yeah. This is the time of year the stars come out, and we're seeing it. And now we have this crazy, exciting play-in style to prime us for these playoffs. And right here, boys, we're living in it, and it's about to get going.
I'm hyped, man. It's gonna be fun. Too. All right, boys. Well, that'll do it tonight for Happy Hour Hoops. We will be coming at you with play-in coverage all next week for every game. So we'll see you then. Guys, thank you for coming here. Thank you for doing this again. As always, follow us at Happy Hour Hoops 1. Follow at Trainwreck Sports out the O. Honestly, we should just get it on this little graphic here. That'd probably be the easiest thing because the without the O just throws me off every time. I just never know what to actually say. So for Dunny, for Stevie, this is Jake logging off here. We'll see you guys next week for some NBA playoff action.